Ladies and gentlemen, please join me in welcoming Ms. Vidya Mani, Managing Editor of Goodbooks, to take over for the next session, the Hindu Young World Goodbooks Award.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you for being here today. We're glad that Indian children's literature is being showcased at a Lit Fest, and we'd like to thank the Hindu Lit for Life, which showcases the best of of Indian literature, for extending its platform to promote excellence in children's books. I'm just going to give you a short introduction to Goodbooks before we move on to the awards. The Goodbooks website is a repository for Indian children's books and provides a space to all those engaged with children to enter the fascinating discourse on children's literature in India. It's where educators, parents, librarians, and research scholars get an overview of children's literature in India and an update on books being published across the country. The reviews on the site critically evaluate books, enhancing the understanding of what constitutes good children's books and creating awareness about the role of books and reading in a child's life. Goodbooks is supported by Wipro Applying Thought in Schools, Wipro's social initiative in education. You all know Goodbooks gives out the Hindu Young World Goodbooks Awards for Indian children's books in association with the Hindu Young World. The purpose of these awards is to promote excellence in children's writing and illustration in India and to acknowledge innovative publishing trends. This year, the awards are being given in two categories. The first one is the Hindu Young World Goodbooks Best Author Award 2017. And the second one is the Hindu Young World Goodbooks Best Illustrator Award 2017. I'd now like to invite Mr. Anil Menon, who was just here in a most engaging discussion before the awards. He was one of our jury members for the Best Author Award, and we'd like him to share his thoughts about children's writing in India. Anil.
Thanks, Vidyamani. I think I'll keep this brief. She's given me just 5 minutes in any case. So we received more than 50 books for a review to come up with a short list. And it was actually a delight in the sense that because there was only one category, the Best Author Award, it simplified a lot of things for us. We didn't have to worry about whether it's fiction, non-fiction, whether it was a book that was primarily meant to educate as opposed to entertain. We just had to decide as to how the book came through for us, free of these categories. But of course, it was more difficult in the other sense, because it meant a lot of discussion as to where we came from as readers. So of these 45 to 50 books, there were 4 judges, myself, Sujata Narona, there was Shailaja Menon and Payal Da. We had a very interesting and long discussion. And the books that you see before us on the panel today are in fact the ones that we came up with. So I'm sure Vidyamani will be anxious to reveal the names of the the winner, as are all of you. But let me say that, briefly that contrary to rumors of the decline in children's literature, my personal view is that it's flourishing. It's doing really well. The books that I saw were doing remarkable things. And I expect that the next year, it'll be an even more difficult decision for the judges to be. With that, Vidya.
Thank you, Anil, for making life really difficult for Goodbooks. We're never going to be able to find jury members next time round, I'm sure. I'd now like to call on Mr. Vinayak Verma, again one of our jury members for the Best Illustrator Award, to share his views on children's illustration in India.
Forgive me if I read this off my phone, because I'm not very good at extemporizing. My fellow jurors Deepa Balsava, Ranjan Day and Atanu Roy could not make it here today. So it's left to me to try and give you a little insight into how we went about picking a winner. So on paper there is a lot of clarity and ease to the process. The organizers, in this case the good folks at Goodbooks, they send you a pile of books along with the suggested grading system for evaluating each book. And this involves various intricate guidelines and calibrations and metrics, all very precise and very scientific. And it only seems reasonable on paper that a careful, calculated assessment will eventually yield a mathematically pleasing result And it would only remain for us to stamp QED on the winning name and dash it off, secure in the knowledge that the gods of logic have smiled on us. If only. So, so here are some of the variables that threw us off. So we had books in many, many formats, picture books, we had chapter books, comics, plays, some in black and white, some in color, small books, large books, beautifully produced books in like the glorious tradition of children's picture books. We had scrappy little upstarts, you know, you name it, all kinds of things. Illustrations in all kinds of styles, non-styles, anti-styles. And all this variety, of course, is hugely encouraging on the one hand. The fact that the children's publishing industry in this country continues to grow in strange and creative ways, exploring and inventing and experimenting, while other creative industries sort of cast about apprehensively, advising caution at every turn. The children's book industry is out there in the dirt, you know, advising caution, is sort of making clay forts and sticking flowers in its hair and singing loudly and generally having the time of its life. So, you know, we know how to have fun, basically, in our industry. So, on the other hand, of course, this posed a huge headache for us, the poor cornered jury members. So after much hand-wringing and wailing and gnashing of teeth, we finally managed to narrow down the whole process into two central strategies, which I'm going to call diplomacy and war. Naturally, war came after diplomacy. To begin with, we examined each book based on, so I'm just going to tell you a little bit about the process that we followed. So we examined each book based on how well its illustrations served its story. If it merely repeated what was being said by the text, or whether it added anything to the story, or as in the case of the winning book, if it pushed the story into an entirely new dimension. This was the sort of polite phase in our conversation among the jurors, in which we held up each other's choices as much as our own, praising all the shortlisted titles for their strength in composition, use of color, their innovations, their service to the story, and what have you. So we kind of kept patting each other on the back and said, oh, what a lovely choice you've made, and so good, and so fair, and so well-deserved. Then war broke out, and we sort of attacked and defended, isolating and tearing into the weak spot, and every weak spot in the opposing camp's artwork. And what emerged, little the worse for the wear, was the winner, which I'm not allowed to mention yet. But the winner kind of stood out guns blazing. And this is not to say that the other titles didn't put up a damn good fight. They were killers, but you know, there can only be one. And I think I can speak for the rest of the jury in wishing for more categories, because this has really been our takeaway at the end of this process for future awards of this type. Because picture books, comic books, chapter books, YA books, non-fiction, fiction, all these and their writers and illustrators deserve special and separate consideration. And illustration in particular is a profession that is still relatively underpaid in India, requiring long hours and hustling, much passion and commitment. So a little recognition goes a long way in affirming what we do and giving us the confidence to keep with it. And it's sort of wonderful that Goodbooks and the Hindu have created such an award, which continues to support and inspire our growing community of writers and artists. I hope it goes from strength to strength. Many thanks to Vidya and her team for having us all on the jury this year. It was a great and singular honor, and hearty congratulations to the winner for the award and for your incredible work. Thank you.
Thanks a lot, Vinayak. Children's publishers out there, if somebody wants to record our jury processes, you have a bestseller at hand, I guarantee you, all right? So, yes, you can be waiting with the contracts we'll sign. But yeah, let's move on to the most significant part of the session, which are the awards. I'm going to first call out the shortlist for the Hindu Young World Good Books Best Author Award 2017. The shortlisted authors are Shalini Srinivasan for Gangama's Ghariyal, Ritu Khoda and Vanita Pai for I Spy Indian Art, Arifa Tehseen for Wild in the Backyard, Andalib Wajid for When She Went Away. So ladies and gentlemen, please put your hands together for Ritu Khoda and Vanita Pai, who won the Best Author Award for their delightful book, I Spy Indian Art. I'd like to call on our jury member Anil Menon and Mukund Padmanabhan, editor The Hindu, to present the award to Vanita Pai. Ritu, I'm afraid, is not able to join us this evening, but Vanita Pai is here. Please do come up on stage to receive your award from Anil and Mukund. Thank you, Vanita. I'm going to have you come up and say a few words. Would you like me to? Why don't you just take a seat before I'd like to read the citation out, because the jury was, gave you a really good citation, and I'm reckoning you're going to see it for the first time now. This is what the jury's citation for I Spy Indian Art says. Ritu Khoda and Vanita Pai's I Spy Indian Art is a playful and informative introduction for children to modern Indian art and artists from the pre-independence era to the present. This beautifully crafted volume, produced by Ishan Khosla Designs and published by Takshila Publications, covers everything from academic realism through the Bengal modernists to the Baroda modernists. A striking aspect of the book is the presentation of art not as some remote aesthetic pursuit of the elite, but rather as born out of the social conditions in which the artists find themselves. Combining the elements of games, history, detective story, biography, and hands-on activities to engage children, it offers one interpretation of modern Indian art and its representative artists. Art educators and enthusiasts, Khoda and Pai's landmark volume is sure to encourage other explorations and interpretations of Indian art by budding artists and writers. Ladies and gentlemen, please give Vanita Pai and Ritu Khoda a really big hand. Vanita, please come on.
Wow, thanks. Thanks, Hindu, Goodbooks, members of the jury, and the small intimate gathering here. I'm so glad Marcus took half the crowd with him, because that makes me less nervous today. Ritu is not here. She had to rush to Jaipur for a personal family emergency. I usually prefer to let her do the talking, and now I have to do an additional 3 minutes. Wow, thanks Ritu, but okay. Also, this is not the first award that I'm getting from the Hindu. 18 years ago, I received the Best Reporter Award when I was at Manipal Institute of Communication from the Hindu. Yes, so thanks Hindu. And yes, how did this journey begin? I met Ritu in 2011, soon after she started Art First Foundation. What we are trying to do through Art First Foundation is we're trying to restructure art education in India. So that for us is a bigger vision of where we're coming from. And I happened to attend a workshop that she had held for teachers, teacher mentoring. And I was simply blown away by the work that she was doing. There were also contemporary artists there, there were child psychologists, there were art historians, and she had developed an entire art program in consultation with these people. And at the end of the workshop, we got chatting, and we talked about the problem with art education in general in India, and also why there's so little literature available on Indian art for children. And that's how it began. We soon, in 2014, we took out Raza's Bindu, which was also very well received and has kind of also sort of become a benchmark, and everything we produce after that is compared to Raza's Bindu, also remains one of our all-time favorites. The work journey for I Spy Indian Art started with Takshila Education, who approached us to make this book for them, which they could also use for art curriculum in the schools that they are running. And so I remember 19 January last year is when we submitted the first draft of the manuscript. It's almost just like a year ago, right? So this award feels very, very good coming at this time. There's, of course, lots of people that we want to thank. And now I'm speaking on behalf of both Ritu and I. Ritu and I are also very close friends, and now I'm also director in Art First with her. We want to start with thanking, of course, our publishers, Takshila. Initially, of course, Scholastic India, who believed in us, and for Raza's Bindu, then we republished it. For I Spy Indian Art, specifically Takshila, we want to thank a lot of patrons like art galleries, Delhi Art Gallery, Vadera Art Gallery, Ojas Art Gallery. I can tell you how much easier our task becomes if we have access to their archives. Looking for images can be a nightmare. And looking for material and getting permissions in time, it can be a nightmare. And so this really is a significant help that we get from patrons like art galleries, art gallerists. And then, of course, we have Meera Kurian right there, who stood with us thick and thin, and she needn't, but every time she goes beyond, the call of duty, and she really helps us as an editor, matching every effort of ours every late night on Skype. What's also unique about the way we work is that Ritu is based at Bombay, I live in Manipal, and Meera is in Chennai. So we sometimes joke that we've got to thank Skype in our acknowledgements, because without Skype this wouldn't be possible. I also want to thank, as I said, the publishers, our designer Ishan Khosla, who was a wonderful choice and has put in his soul. He came with, he realized what we were trying to do, and he has brought that Indian sensibility in the design. Meera, anyone I'm missing? So yes, I'll just wrap this up here. Thank you so much. This award really feels very special. Thank you, Goodbooks. Thank you, The Hindu, because as I said, that it feels really good when people realize that there is need for such literature, and that we started to make a change. And we hope the other authors who will also join in, because there's so much to be written about and so much to be discovered in the world of Indian art. Thank you.
Thanks a lot, Vanita, and congratulations to both Ritu and you once again. I'll now move on to the Hindu Young World Goodbooks Best Illustrator Award 2017. The shortlisted illustrators are Taposhi Ghoshal for The Story of Hanuman, Priya Kurian for Princess Easy Pleasy, Mihir Joglekar for Cricket for the Crocodile, and Shrujana Niranjani Sridhar for Amu's Kavandi. I'm delighted to call on stage Priya Kurian, who's won the Best Illustrator 2017 award for her charming illustrations in Princess Easy Pleasy. May I request Mukund Padmanabhan from The Hindu and Vinayak Verma, our jury member, to present the award to Priya Kurian, please. Before Priya takes the mic, I'd just like to read what the jury's citation for Princess Easy Pleasy says. Please have a seat, Priya. Great picture book illustration can wrap the simplest of stories in beauty and wonder, layering them with magical alternate dimensions that range above and beyond the scope of what is described by their texts alone. This transformative power of illustration is most evident this year in Priya Kurian's work on Princess Easy Pleasy. Kurian's distinctive visual style marries a cartoonist's eye for comic subtext with an animator's passion for detail, turning this cautionary tale, that of a spoilt brat who has been indulged all too often by her wealthy parents, into an endearing and witty comedy of errors. Kurian has invested her artwork with characteristic warmth and richness, giving even the book's background characters and objects a palpable array of emotions and personalities, ensuring that every revisit to the book is fresh and rewarding. Creditably, the publisher Karadi Tales has supported the subtle tones, tints, and whimsical detailing in the artwork by choosing to print it on a suitably large format and by adhering to the highest production standards. Ladies and gentlemen, a big hand for Priya Kurian and for her publishers, Karadi Tales. May I invite you, Priya, to say a few words?
Well, a couple of days back, I met this very well-meaning gentleman who kind of advised me and told me that, you should stop calling yourself a children's book illustrator. Just call yourself an illustrator. It sounds more grown-up and, people will take you more seriously. So thankfully, I stopped listening to well-meaning, serious adults a while back. And the reason is that, the most satisfaction one gets is when, one sees a child react to your artwork or anything you've created, because that comes from a very, very honest place, and there's no other, it's like unadulterated joy, pun intended. Which is why I'm sincerely, grateful that Goodbooks and The Hindu have instituted an award like this to kind of recognize the people who I've met so many over the past few years. I've met so many really kind, wonderful people who work with children's books. There are authors, fellow illustrators, librarians, and just book enthusiasts who've been working really hard to, get children's books out to be read by so many people. And it's because they truly believe that, good books can make empathetic adults. And we all know that we really need some empathetic adults coming in the coming years. So I'd especially like to thank my publisher, Shobha, who's right here. She's such a perfectionist, but she really pushes you to, get your best out. And I'm so grateful that we had her as, Natasha and I had her as a publisher, because she made sure that no stone was unturned once the book was finally out. Because especially for an illustrator, what the world sees is that. It doesn't see your original illustrations. And until, the publisher does justice to your work, it doesn't make the impact that it would do so. So thank you so much, Shobna. Also, I want to thank Natasha. Natasha is a good friend. We worked on so many books together, and she's such a joy to work with because she completely trusts the illustrator. Another very important thing, when you're collaborating with a writer, the writer must completely trust their words with the person who is going to illustrate for them. It is most fun to work with people like that. I hope I do more books with her. Also, my fellow nominees, Mihir, Shrujana, Taposhi, they always raise the bar when it comes to illustrations, and I'm so happy to have been kind of nominated along with them. And finally, the jury, thank you so much for the wonderful citation. It means a lot to have received this award, and yeah, thank you once again.
Thank you so much, Priya. In this award category, the jury also picked an illustrator for honorable mention. That's Mihir Joglekar for Cricket for the Crocodile. Many congratulations to him, but he's not here this evening. I'm just quickly going to read the citation that the jury gave in, because the encouragement that these citations give authors and illustrators, I think, is considerable. There are some illustrators who take you back in time with their approach to illustrating a book, which is not overtly gimmicky or stylized, but something that breathes life into an author's text. Mihir Joglekar's delightful illustrations for Cricket for the Crocodile takes one back in time to the early days of multicolored illustrated children's books. Joglekar's multi-points of view and watercolor and ink renditions take the viewer right into the thick of action with a certain consistency of style and visual unity of picture narrative. It is for this very reason that this tiny gem of a book deserves to get an honorable mention in this year's Best Illustrator Award category. A big applause for Mihir Joglekar, who's not here with us this evening. Once again, congratulations to all the winners and publishers who've won the Hindu Young World Good Books Awards. Ladies and gentlemen, please give them a big round of applause. I'd like to invite both Priya and Vanita to come on stage with their trophies so you can do the photos with all our jury members present here. Yeah. Okay. I'd like to take this opportunity to thank the Hindu once again for providing us this wonderful platform. Mr. Mukund Padmanabhan for being here with us this evening. Thank you so much for giving away the awards to our prize-winning authors. And thank you, all of you, for being with us this evening. As always, there's this lovely quote that a children's writer, once said, and I'm going to stress on the word evening because here's what the children's writer once said. When I was a child, adults would tell me not to make things up, warning me of what would happen if I did. As far as I can tell so far, it seems to involve a lot of travel and not having to get up too early in the morning. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen, for being here this evening. Thank you.